Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Get Together podcast. I am Alyssa,
Hey, I'm Stacy.
and today we have a very special guest with us. Please tell us your name.
Alethia Thornton.
And today we are talking about friendship, per the usual,
Yeah.
and public school.
Teaching.
Hot topic.
This is a new location.
We met at this time, and this is it.
I feel super awkward.
You do?
Yes.
As these people walk
I mean,
behind
That's
us.
where I'm at. I'm like, oh, hello. But
It's fine.
It is what it is.
I mean, it is what
making
it
a
is.
spectacle.
I feel like in this friendship, though, when have we not made a spectacle?
I mean, that's fair and valid. Well, speaking of that, why don't you tell us how you came to be on this particular podcast?
Oh, I really don't know. I think I was just next up.
Next up.
I don't know.
Like, it's your time.
Hey, you want to meet and have coffee and maybe get together? Sure.
So more specifically, how do you know either
you
of
know
us?
Well, I was thinking about this earlier. Is like I've known Stacy for a long time, and really I think I've known your family for even longer.
Yeah.
Because I think our grandparents ran in the same circles for a long time, Assemblies of God, and and then I've known Scott and Tamara for longer than that because I went to school with Tamara in like 7th grade.
Oh, I didn't know that.
At Christian Temple.
I think that was maybe the first time that I ever met you. I remember we were all had gone out to eat, and you were in town or something.
Yeah, because in 7th grade, I lived with my grandparents for a little bit. My mom and my brothers and I did just during some hard times. So we lived with them for a little bit. And I think I went to Christian Temple for like a semester, like maybe less than that. And so I've known your family for a long time. Like, and I've been friends with Janae and Pastor Gary and Miss Barbara for a long time. And so just good family friends. And then in college, when I moved up here,
That's
I
when
was
our friendship was like
hanging out with Scott and Tamara and and everybody, and met you, and I think just grew from there, really.
Yeah.
Our love for rom-coms and
bluegrass music.
yes, Nickel Creek and
Nickel
Oh,
Creek
dang.
was
Yeah.
where it
I
was.
loved them.
Yeah.
yes.
Because of my sister.
I'm going to see Alison Krauss.
Oh
with
man,
my
I was
uncle.
thinking about her too because I listened to her too this morning on the way here.
Alison Krauss is always a jam in the car for me.
Yes.
I could just turn on and not skip any song.
Yeah, they're all good. They're all pretty good. But that's kind of the gist. And then I was hanging out with Audrey. Your
We
sister
actually
brought a lot of
talked
people
about
together.
that a few episodes ago. We were talking about the fact that, like, I met Stacy because of Audrey, because I was hanging out with you. We met at the church, and I was hanging out with you more, and you and Audrey were hanging out, and then it was like Audrey introduced us, and I don't know,
Yeah.
it was like
Yeah.
a weird friendship flip,
Yeah.
like, because then you and Audrey started hanging out.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was listening to your other one with your husbands, and I think I became the third wheel a little bit with Chris and Audrey, just hanging out with them all the time and going to their house. But yeah, that's kind of it.
Good times.
Those third wheels are
Yeah,
special.
I know. Well, that's been what?
When we were talking about it the other day, it had to have been 15, 16 years
At
ago.
least. 2008 is when I moved to Stephenville.
2008?
What?
2008.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
Yeah, because that's when I started
Okay.
teaching down there. Started working at a school down there.
I guess that makes sense because I graduated in 07, and then I only knew you for a little bit.
Yeah. And then I kind of,
And then after that is like when
Left.
you and I started living together. Just
Sign
peace
on.
out.
hi guys.
Later.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been a long time.
And it's
I remember
been
just
literally
going to your
years.
Nana's all the time,
Yes.
hanging out.
Yes. Having Oreos and ice
And
cream.
milk.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Miss your Nana.
I know. Me too. Me too.
So when you went to college, you went to college to be a teacher, right?
I actually didn't.
that-
I
oh.
was kind of lost. You know, like I think I changed my major lots of times. And then I graduated with a history degree. And then after that, I was kind of like, well, I think I could teach.
Yeah.
Because I like kids. But yes, I became a teacher through like emergency certification. And
what is that?
It's like not going through college to get your certification. It's an alternative program.
So what are the stipulations? Like what?
Well, back then there wasn't a lot.
Oh, okay.
But now there's a lot of stipulations. More like you take online courses about pedagogy and teaching and.
Okay.
But back then, and then moving to Stephenville, they had like my mentor teacher observe me and send back information instead of sending somebody out.
Yeah.
Because it was an hour and a half away. So.
But you did go to college.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I graduated from UNT.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've been talking a lot on this podcast specifically about homeschool just because that's what we do.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to have a public school teacher on that.
And you've been a teacher for how long? Did you already say that?
Yeah, well, no, this is my 17th year teaching.
Oh my gosh.
I know. It's been a long time.
I don't feel like any of us are old enough to be like, I've been doing something for 17 years.
No.
Yet we are.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yes.
Gross.
Yeah. So, and that's what makes me think that, well, I've been gone for 17 years because, like moving in 2008, that's when that's how long I've been teaching. So, yeah, it's been a long time. It's a long time.
Do you like it?
I do like it. There are aspects that, man, I wish we could change, you know, but I think that's just something that's run by the government. There's a lot of things I wish we could change about things that are run by the government.
I was going to ask do you find that you're more teaching things that you have to versus what you want to? Or like, is there a style of teaching that you can't do because of government regulations and stuff?
I don't think there's a style that I can't do. And for a majority of my career, I've taught 6th grade science, which is not tested. So there's a lot more freedom.
Yeah.
There's not as much pressure there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never really been one to like take everybody else's pressure and put it on myself. So even when I have taught tested subjects, I don't know. I feel like I kind of thrive because I want to do well regardless. And so I like, it's not really, doesn't put pressure on me. It's just like, let's just get to that next point. Like we just need to do what we need to do.
Yeah.
There hasn't really been, I wouldn't say restrictions as far as teaching and what to teach. I mean, what to teach is obvious, like the state sets those as standards, but I haven't felt like prohibited really because the majority of the time I've been in a non-tested subject. So it's been pretty like whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Which has always been good, but
well, that makes it fun.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know a lot of people in my life, gosh, I keep hitting this, that are like in the public school system, like working, and they've all been like, why are you homeschooling? Like they're not about it. Like they're so far on the public school side.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know. I like that this is a happy medium. Like you don't judge us for homeschooling, and we're not like, oh my God, why are you teaching in public school? Like,
I think everybody has to do what they need to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I don't think I would feel comfortable teach my kid to read, and bless y'all for that. You know what I mean? Like
it's a struggle.
And I'm more a middle school type teacher. So, and I don't think that I mean, just to be real, like financially, I couldn't stop to homeschool. Yeah. So, with my jobs, my husband's job is a coach, and so we're just those people that are like super actively involved in our local public school. And I think that's kind of too where we have kind of, that's our ministry really, you know, like we love growing relationships with kids, and you know, especially the coaching side of it, you get to be involved with kids a lot more than you would just on an everyday basis in the classroom. And so there's a lot of people that we know that homeschool, like half the church that we go to homeschools, and that's cool. Whatever you want to do, you know. But there's that sect of people that they can't homeschool. Yeah. They gotta go to school someplace because it's better than the alternative of not.
It's whatever works for your family.
Yeah. And I think too, like I didn't go to public school, but like I went all of high school, and then I went 1 year in 5th grade. And the rest of it was either a private school or I was homeschooled for about 1.5 years.
Yeah.
During a transition time. But so I couldn't be like, you know, judgy, but like, I can't believe that you.
It's so interesting. Like, I always felt like everybody went to public school. But it's like I'm meeting more people that, like you, are in the public school system, but you were homeschooled or private schooled for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I was strictly public school and never thought I would homeschool. And now I'm like, no, I'm gonna do it. And that's what you said too for you.
Well, both my sister-in-laws were homeschooled, and one of my sister-in-laws, all of her 4 kids go to public school.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it doesn't matter what you do.
It really is a testament
is so different
to that. Do what works best for you and your family. Because it is different for every single person.
Yeah.
For sure. There's
so many working parents too that they don't have that option.
Right.
So to feel judged in any way of like what you're doing with your kids in any way is just so crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
What would you say is the most rewarding part? You kind of touched on that, like it's your ministry kind of.
Yeah, just like being able to, you know, get involved with kids. And I mean, Ryan was in Dublin before, which is where we are now. Ryan was in Dublin, and we're back there again after moving away for a while. There were kids that we have known since they were in middle school, and now some of those kids have graduated and they've got jobs, and they're, you know, getting married and things like that. And so we have some families that we're close with in that manner. And so it's just kind of cool to watch them grow up and to just be, not that we've had a huge giant hand in their lives, but that we can be there to watch that and to see it grow.
Well, and you get to be that teacher that people look back on and like, oh man.
Well, and I hope I am. Like sometimes I'm like, was I really, you know, and there's a lot of times, no, definitely not to all, but you know, like, I think as I've gotten older and I've kind of chilled out and just learned how to do it, you know, there are kids that I still see and still come in contact with, and they come give me hugs, or, you know what I mean? Like, just recognize you. And it feels like it happens with older kids than like younger kids. You know, I have some 8th graders that I taught in Brady for a couple years, and, you know, if they see me, because Brady and Dublin often have like things that coincide together. If they see me, they'll come say hi, and, you know, so that's always fun. I love seeing old students.
Yeah.
But.
Have you always done this particular grade, or have you done?
Well, I've taught 6th grade majority of it.
Okay.
I taught 8th grade a couple years, and then I taught 5th grade 1 year.
Okay.
So
never like early elementary years or anything.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
That's how I would be. That's where I draw the line. School or
like
I
remember like when I subbed up here at Eagle Mountain, and that, like, I subbed, and I loved subbing kindergarten because they were so cute, you know, for like a day. Yeah. But like, I don't think I could do it.
It's like grandparents like their kid, and then they get to send them away. Kindergarten.
Yeah. I worked at a daycare for a little while, and I was in the baby room primarily, which is my favorite room. Yeah. Because you know, if they're crying, they need something. Right. They either need to eat, sleep, or, you know, whatever. Or they need their diaper changed. But like one day they told me, hey Stacy, we need you to lead the 3 and 4-year-olds. And Bennett was in that class at the time, and so I was like, all right, you know, like, sure. You know, they were at full capacity that day in that class, and I was by myself, and I left. Well, first of all, Bennett was extra clingy that day too, but just the noise, and then just that age group is like the pivotal. I don't know, for kids it's like they test their boundaries all within 3 and 4 years old. And I survived, but I went home and I was like, Brian, I'm putting my headphones on. I'm going to bathe the kids with these on. I don't want anyone to talk to me. I just want to hear. I don't know how those daycare teachers do that every day. I would not be able to do that class.
Yeah. I really think teaching in general is a calling, because
it's a gift.
People assume that if you have a lot of kids, like, you like kids. I'm like, oh no, like, I've got have 4, and I like those 4. Everybody else's can leave me alone.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's sarcastic. It's not that bad. There's plenty of other kids that I love, but I don't think I could teach an entire classroom of them and then like switch them out every year. Like you get a new batch of kids every year. I did like a in-home preschool for a little bit, and I had like a 6-month-old baby all the way up to 4-year-olds. So, and there I only had like 6 or 7 kids at a time.
At your house?
No, it wasn't my house.
Oh, I was like, oh my goodness.
She ran it out of her home. And like I loved all those kids, but there were days where I'm like, I don't want to hear tiny voices ever again.
Yeah.
That are asking for the same thing like 50,000 times.
Yeah.
And it is different. Like people are always like, that's why I don't want kids. I'm like, it is different with your own kids.
It is.
Like,
100%
different. But
yeah,
I look back on those days and I'm like, those really did prepare me a little bit for having my own preschool in my house. Like, I've got all these kids. Like
my own preschool.
I learned how to cook some little
kids.
simple meals for them, and
look at you. Now you're making your own bread.
Make my own bread.
Homeschooling your kids.
You're a homesteader.
I might as well be on the prairie. I'm gonna buy a dress and a bottle.
You got chickens.
I have 8 chickens.
Do you have 8? Oh,
so they all kept getting massacred. We've gone through like 5 chicken massacres, and we're down to 1.
Does she produce?
She does. We had 2, and we had a black one and a white one, and our white one's name was Reba, because she was the lone survivor out of our very first batch of chickens that Hazel brought home from her kindergarten class. Like, they hatched them in kindergarten.
What?
The teacher needed somewhere for them to go, and I was like, I'll take them. And so Reba was the last one. We named her Reba after all the massacres because she was a survivor.
There you go.
I'm a survivor. Anyways, now she is dead.
Reba.
I was like, even, oh my gosh! What are y'all doing?
What are y'all doing?
I almost texted you. Come here.
What are y'all doing here?
I was like, these people are like.
I was wondering why you cut your. She was like cutting her eyes at me, and I was like, what? I'm bringing my microphone. Hi. Come sit down.
We're gonna go eat.
Oh. I almost texted you. I was going to be like, hey, does Imperial have anywhere that we can record a podcast? And then we ended up here.
I didn't even notice y'all, and he's over here like, look, who are those? Y'all doing a podcast.
For those that can't see, our friends Preston and Ashley just popped in.
Hello. Would you like to say anything?
No.
Hi. How are you doing?
Hello.
Perfect. Well, y'all enjoy dinner or lunch. Love you guys.
Bye.
That's so funny.
That was super funny.
I was like, these people are being really weird over here.
Do you have it right here?
Yeah.
Ish.
That's kind of like,
Well,
man, these people are so rude.
How
They're
random
just,
and fun.
They're just being right in the middle of it all.
We were just talking about having Preston on, actually, like jokingly on Facebook, but now we have to do it for real.
Yeah, of all people, because he was all giving us a hard time.
Yeah, he gives us a hard time.
Wow.
That's Kenneth's friend, though. He went to high school with both of them, and they were like high school sweethearts and got married, but
Oh, that's cute.
we love them. Anyways, what were we talking about? Chickens?
Yeah, I want some. But
Yeah, they're great. Like,
I
we're
gotta get
getting
a fence
eggs.
built.
Well, Kenneth is in the process now of finally finishing our coop because, like I said, we had all those massacres. And so we had the 2, and they were producing enough eggs for us, but now we're down to 1. And she's gotten meaner since she's alone, so she needs a chicken friend.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, we gotta build something that'll keep our cat out of it, because he'd probably go in there and just kill them all.
Yeah. Our chickens, they learn to fend for themselves. They just peck at the cats. And our little dog, we have Ruby now. She's a little miniature dachshund, and she gets pecked a lot because she's a puppy, and she doesn't leave anybody alone.
Yeah.
We were gonna ask, like, what would you say is the most like challenging of being a middle school teacher, and what would be the most challenging thing that you'd come across?
I think you kind of touched on it the other day when on one of your other ones, or the other podcasts, was just the parents aren't parenting.
Oh, yeah.
That's a hard thing because, if there's no expectations at home for school or for schoolwork or anything that happens in class, then there's no expectations. And I can have the highest expectations, but students aren't necessarily going to meet them if there's not that backing from the home side too. So that is a difficult part. I mean, behavior is a
That's what I was
difficult
gonna
part
ask.
too.
Was that like academically you mean, and then behavior?
Kind of both. And I'll tell you, like, the school that we teach at is a 3A, so it's a smaller school. So I feel like there's a sweet spot of school size. You know, if you go too big, it's going to be, I don't think the discipline's going to be as well. They're not going to probably follow through, and they're going to let a lot more slide. But I think we're backed pretty well as far as discipline at the school that we teach at, so that's pretty good. But yeah, discipline, behavior, you know, just parents too. And I mean, I get it. Like, I won't claim to be an amazing parent. I try my best and do the best that I can.
Don't
and
we all?
I do have expectations for school, and they need to be met. But like, for somebody that not putting a lot of expectations on their kids, like, yeah, it shows.
Yeah. I think that's hard homeschooling too, because I feel like I have expectations for my kids that are maybe unrealistic to where they're at. And so I find myself like, man, would we be having these same problems if they were public schooled? Like, am I doing a bad job because I can't get them to where they need to be?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. And I feel like some parents just don't even have that level of care sending their kids. And so those are the kids that probably act out behaviorally because they know that their parents don't care or aren't super involved.
Yeah.
And then academically, like you said, if they're not being pushed at home, they're not.
Yeah.
There's no amount of pushing at school is going to make them do better.
Yeah. And I mean, every kid's different. So, I mean, you know, even my two kids that I have, you know, they're both drastically different.
Yeah.
They learn different. They perform differently. I mean, I know one's only in kindergarten, but still, you know, you can see differences of where, you know, with my first, she struggled and she still continues to struggle, but he doesn't always seem to necessarily show those same struggles. And it just seems like a night and day difference. Even just with kids, even in the classroom too, kids in the classroom are different and have different needs.
And you have to teach them all.
Yeah. Differentiate.
So how does that work? Because, like, from your standpoint, is there times that you have to approach a kid's problems completely different from another, or do you kind of stay pretty level and even?
I mean, I would probably say that I'm pretty level and even, but I mean, we also have some times throughout the day that would be like a tutorial time where we might pull kids to try to do something a different way or, you know, refocus on something. It's pretty difficult to like differentiate for 20 kids in a classroom.
A lot. I cannot imagine.
With all their different needs.
Yep, 4 is enough for me. And with the age differences, like, I don't know what I'm doing. Just winging it over here.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you know, if they're reading well by 18, like, nobody's going to question what age they started reading. I'm over here dying because I've got a struggling reader, and I'm just like, and he doesn't care about anything. So,
yeah. Reading is I feel like reading is like the hardest thing.
Well, it is. And like, the English language makes me so mad. Like, I'll teach them something new, and they'll be like, well, why? And I'm like, because English is dumb, and you just need to accept that. Like, because they'll read a word, you know, and then something is spelled very similar with like one letter difference. They're like, but the rule is changed. I'm like, yeah, it's a rule breaker. Like 90% of the English language, they make all these rules just to break them. I don't even understand.
Well, when you switch to having them writing things, the spelling part is so difficult because I get why you spelled it like that because that's what you learned, but this word is actually not spelled like that. It's like this.
I think too a lot of issues arose, which I mean I don't know the whole background, but because I don't teach lower elementary, but is them not really doing phonics as much as they did for a long time. And I think from what I could be completely wrong, but I think there was a study that or somebody had put out that, you know, if we just do sight words, like they'll get it. And it's like, no. So I think that has really inhibited a lot of kids from just learning to read and read well. Yeah. And I do think they're putting phonics back into public schools for sure.
I make my kids do phonics.
I think with Wyatt, I'm sorry to go back to him, but I think his kindergarten year was the COVID. No. His was first grade.
Yeah, because Braylon was
one of them. And he has like so many gaps that he just, we just expected them to fill one day. I'm like, that's not how reading works. And so he was always super behind in school, and they took him out. They put him in like this supplemental help class because he was testing really low. But when they put him in there, they were just reading questions to him. And so because of that, he was answering everything correct, and he was testing really high. And so they're like, oh, well, great, you don't need help anymore. So they took him out, and then he's not reading again. So he starts testing low. I'm like, why would y'all do that? Like, obviously he's not dumb. Like, he knows what you're talking about when you ask him the questions. He just can't read it and comprehend it himself because of all these gaps.
Yeah.
But they never did anything to fill those gaps. And that may just have been his particular school, because I know there's a lot of schools that really do well with those kind of like supplemental help classes. But that's kind of one of our driving points for homeschool, was like, I can do this myself at home.
Yeah.
Because they're not, which, like I said, is still a work in progress. But with him, with all of his gaps, I've started him, like, we're still doing his grade level work, but then on the side we're doing like a second, third grade reading, like, to get all of those little gaps filled.
Yeah.
So I guess,
and it's nice that you can do that, like that you're able to try to fill those gaps of things that were missed.
Yeah. Do you run into that with middle schoolers, like kids that have lots of gaps?
Oh yeah. And it's no child left behind. We're not gonna hold anybody back, really, and we'll try to fill as many gaps as we possibly can in a year. And you definitely can see growth, but there still might be gaps for sure.
So is the No Child Left Behind just another way of saying we won't fail anybody? Like, you just get to move on if you're not?
In my opinion, but I don't know that that's legally, what it is. But that was under, Bush, and that started under him. And so that's kind of the way it feels.
Yeah. So as far as state testing, that doesn't start prohibiting you from moving up a grade until high school, correct?
Well, yeah, because there used to be things called SSI years, which was 5th grade and 8th grade.
Okay.
And if you didn't pass your STAR test on those years, they would potentially hold you back, depending on maybe how many you failed of those.
I guess now they do summer school. I forgot
they do
that for kids who fail.
Yes, which
younger.
They were probably doing it then too, because back then on those SSI years, they would make you go to summer school and you would retest.
Oh,
like you would retest in maybe the end of May, and then you would retest again in like June, I think.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but you would retest a couple of times to try to get it, try to pass. But since COVID, we don't have SSI years anymore. So if you in 8th grade you take U.S. history, science, 8th grade science, 8th grade reading, and 8th grade math, STAR. So you basically have a STAR test for like all your core classes.
Yeah.
But if you fail, that you could still move on as long as you're like showing growth in your classes, right? So they don't really hold a lot of people back anymore, which is sometimes sad because some of them need it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess I kind of get it, but not really.
Yeah, I was talking to Stacy the other day about homeschool and how I feel like we're behind where we should be. And I was like, but at the same token, like, since we're on our own schedule, I can stay on things that I feel like they should have mastered already but aren't, as long as we need to, until they get it. Because I would rather them get it than be a senior in high school and be like, I don't remember anything that I just learned through those, however many years of school.
And then you're really behind.
Because that was me. Like, I graduated, but the only thing I know how to do is like write. And I don't think I learned that necessarily from school. I think some people are just more creative when it comes to writing and reading and stuff. And that's where I got mine. If you ask me a math problem, I'm going to cry and throw up. Like, so I couldn't tell you one thing that I remember that I've used since school in math.
Yeah.
I remember having to, which you're teaching.
I'm teaching 6th grade math now.
But I remember when
Kendall
and Peyton were in math, like, and needing help. It was mostly Kendall, especially like 6th and 7th grade. And I would she's like, I need help with this. And I'm like reading. I'm like, never in my life to remember any of this.
Yeah.
So I'm like Googling, trying to figure it out. And we would like work it out. And sometimes she'd be like, Stacey, we got that wrong. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
I did my best.
I did my best.
Well, even with Braylon, she'll bring home her 5th grade math, which is not, I mean, I'm literally only teaching 6th grade one level above what she's doing. And I'm like, That I think too, part of it is there's so many different ways that they're teaching them to do it. And I'm like, why can't you just stick with one? Stick with the one way that we all learned how to do, and we all do it good. Like, we all know how to divide.
Even in like 2nd and 3rd grade. Like, Wyatt would come home and he'd be like, well, we have to do it this way. I'm like, that way literally makes 0 sense. Why are they teaching you this?
Adding work.
This is 16 extra steps when you could just multiply or divide, like you said.
Yeah.
So easy.
I don't, sometimes I'll look at hers and I'm like, we're going to just do our best. You know, sometimes I've texted her teacher and I'm like, what are you guys looking for here? Come on now. Because they don't necessarily like come home with notes all the time. And so I'm like, well, what do they want us to do here? Or so,
Or then like you do it and then they get it graded wrong because they didn't show the right work. You're like, well, what did they want?
Yes. Or they didn't do it the correct way. And I'm like,
but the answer's the same.
But we can do it so many ways. We can do it so many different ways.
Oh, education.
I know.
What a blessing.
I think it just goes to show that there's just no perfect way to do anything, you know, and all kids learn different and, you know, just
they all
do
end
what
up
you got to
in the
do.
same spot anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the crappy things too about, like I said earlier, that I know so many people that are in education and they truly like, they want what's best for the kids, but then like you said earlier, the government has a huge say in what you can and can't do. So you could be the best teacher in the world and you're still restricted by you know, different things.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bummer.
Yep. Let's just all go live on a commune and make our own.
Have a 1-room schoolhouse. Dude, that's the dream, honestly.
I know.
Yeah.
Like if I could get my favorite people together and we just go, you know,
live together.
Just take turns teaching in the schoolhouse.
Yeah.
Somebody bring me an apple.
Yeah. Yeah.
It looks so peaceful.
I know, with the little chickens pecking around the schoolyard.
They come in with their boxes of lunch. And like,
Their little pails.
canteen.
Do we have to have the outhouse though? Could we just have
Seriously,
indoor
let's go
plumbing?
all
Right.
in.
Yeah. Everything else we'll get like antique, like actual schoolhouse, everything else, but we will have a really modern bathroom.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Dude, can you imagine though, like living that way? Like it was so normal for people back then,
It
but
was
now
what
I'm
it
like,
was.
if society collapsed right now and we like went back to that, I wouldn't. Like, would I make it? Like I can make bread in like a conventional oven, but what if I need like a fire roasted pit to cook my dinners on? What am I gonna do?
I mean, your husband probably could.
He could.
I mean,
survive,
our husbands would survive very
true.
well. But the 1 egg a day, I don't know about that. You'd only get about 1 egg. I'd have to get some chickens.
between 6 people. You get like a tiny sliver
You get
of an
3
egg.
bites.
I don't even think it would go that far,
think
honestly.
so either.
You get a bite.
Kenneth is going to wither away to nothing, but he can hunt, so... That's
Yeah.
why I married him.
Yeah.
I was like, I need a burly man to take care of me at the end of the world.
Burly man.
Exactly. Yep.
Can't do it on my own.
That's what I
Except
did
for your
too.
video of him last night, like cuddling up on the couch watching
He's
a
so
movie.
precious sometimes. He's like so big and angry and mean and just like, "Rah, rah, rah." And then he sits down to watch his favorite movie and he's like, just watching it with a smile on his face. He's so cute.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, the men in our life.
Yeah.
You put those
Yeah.
bananas in the fridge.
Get those bananas.
What do you want me to do, Brian?
Put them in the house.
Oh,
They're
goodness.
a tropical climate.
Nobody knows
That
what we're
was
talking
my
about.
favorite part.
I know.
He was like, well, they're a tropical climate. So what do you say? What do you want me to do with them?
So they're totally fine out here. Is that what you're saying?
Goodness, nobody knows even what we're talking about, but
It's
Yeah.
funny
Just
too.
gonna roll
I don't
with
know if y'all find this, but like how they grew up and how their mom did things, they almost expect you to do them that way. Like, for instance, like leaving the butter out on the counter rather than put it in the fridge. Like with your like food specifically. But I'll do something that I know that my mom did. Like she put like, let's go back to the butter. Okay, I always put my butter in the fridge, but some people leave it out on the counter.
yeah.
And like there's certain things that he'll be like, oh, why we didn't do this when I was a kid, or like my
Yeah.
mom didn't do this. Like, is there anything like that with y'all?
We had like when we first got married and first started like grocery shopping together, I would come home and I would put the chips in the pantry, like the bags of chips, and he's like, these go on top of the fridge, and I was like,
there's no other way.
why? And he's like, because that's where they go. I was like, all right. I didn't care. That's where all our chips are now.
Yeah.
I do kind of hate it because it's ugly and it makes my kitchen look more cluttered, but he grew up with chips on the fridge, so that's where our chips are.
Yeah.
And also our pantry's the size of a peanut, so my chips can't go there.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything specific. I do think he used to keep, or maybe it was me that kept the syrup in the refrigerator.
Oh, that's gross.
What's wrong with they didn't do that, and so it was like, I don't know. We just always did, you know. I think there's always those things.
That's funny.
Well, like you keep your ketchup out.
I cannot have my ketchup in the fridge.
And I keep mine in the fridge.
Okay,
I'm the weirdo too.
I'm pretty sure it says refrigerate on it, girl. That's gross.
Did look it up. If you, I think it's you don't have to.
It tastes gross cold.
But
no, that's the best way.
She'll leave pizza out, and I remember when I lived with you, like my understanding was
one night only. You can leave pizza on the counter for one night, and then you got to bag it if you're going to save it after. That's my rule.
I mean,
and that didn't come from my family. I think that's just my own weirdness.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I remember living with you thinking like, gotta put the pizza up, and you're like, oh, we can leave it out.
We gotta put it up, guys.
Sorry.
I don't want to get sick.
Every story you've been telling me about myself from the past makes me cringe.
Oh my gosh,
I do not like my old self.
Who was I?
Why are you friends with me?
What do you mean? You still leave your pizza out?
I do, but I don't know. Like every story you tell, I'm like, was I just mean to you about everything?
You weren't mean at all about it.
And I guess that's where I feel like I was like, leave the pizza on the counter.
No, it was
Stacey.
probably more me questioning it because I'm like,
why?
Like this doesn't make sense.
Oh man,
maybe it's just my pure laziness. Like just leave it out for a day. If it doesn't get eaten, then
but there are people that do that.
Is there? Okay, well,
like I've heard several people say, like, "Oh, we leave our pizza out." I'm like, yeah, and it's usually probably the same people that don't put their ketchup in the fridge.
The pizza that comes from a fast food pizza joint is so full of preservatives.
No, true.
That stuff is not going to mold for just a few extra hours.
You're probably right.
You know, like it's going to be good for at least 3 weeks before it starts growing anything, if it starts growing anything. But that's another podcast for another day. Health and food and chemical
wellness.
FDA.
Oh my gosh.
Is this FDA approved?
Maha. Make America healthy again.
Oh,
where's Robert F?
Yeah.
Are you in Weatherford today?
Yeah.
Our location is secret.
Very secret. Very secret.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
What you say earlier, it's not live. Like nobody's gonna know we're there by the time you post it.
We're not there.
We're not gonna be sitting here
whenever somebody sees it.
A week later. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I just watched that episode. I gotta go see if they're there still.
I found the location.
I knew it.
We did see some people we know though.
I know, that was fun. I'm gonna leave that in there. I'm gonna have to chop that up in a certain way.
It's funny.
It was so funny though because I was like just talking and I noticed people standing there, but I didn't look at their faces. And she kept like eyeing me. She was like trying to like nudge her eyes that way
because he's back there like. So in the video, he's gonna be like
some idiot. Oh, hey Preston.
Oh, it's just you.
You were asking me about memories. I remember a lot because I used to spend the night at Stacey's house a lot, like at her house with her mom.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about, and you may know this too, like when you spend the night with Stacey and she's got to get up in the morning, she sets like 50 alarms and she sleeps through all of them.
I can't like say anything though because I'm the
you
exact
too?
same way.
And I'd be like, Stacey,
wake up.
Wake up.
How do we ever make it to work together?
I don't know.
I mean,
know.
I get up.
You're better now, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I have something in the morning, today was a little rough, honestly, but it's also because my kids were really tired, and then we had to shift things around this morning. So.
No, that's just
I'm
what
always
I
on
remember
time.
most. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I just hit those alarms.
You didn't have to be there till 8, but your alarm started going off at like 5.
But now I'm married to someone who does that. So.
Oh man,
he does
and now
the same
you
thing?
know.
Like Brian
Kenneth is like, if an alarm goes off, he just wakes up immediately. He's like, gotta go. And he's like, red. I'm like, who are you?
Do you do that?
No.
And then he gets frustrated. He's like, why don't you just wake up? I'm like, because I'm tired.
I didn't know anyone
I don't
does
know
that.
how to just wake up.
I think I give myself like 3-ish alarms.
Okay.
But
yeah,
not
like
a lot, but
for me.
That's amazing that he just wakes up like that.
Well, he told me the other day he was trying to give me life advice, and he was like, when I worked with the railroad, he was like, I would have to wake up, and he calls it jolting. He was like, I would have to jolt myself awake, and then I was good to go. He's like, you just have to jolt yourself up, and then you're up.
I'm gonna try that in the morning.
And I'm like, I don't know.
I did hear something like about a countdown. like you count down like a rocket ship, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you get out of bed. I tried it one time, it didn't work, but
so I don't know if jolting's gonna work.
I don't think it's gonna work for
I'm
me.
gonna jolt myself awake in the morning.
It's like grounding. It's like a new health term. Like, do you jolt?
Do you jolt?
Have you been jolting in the mornings?
I've been jolting for weeks and it's done wonders.
I feel so alive every morning.
I have so much more energy. I don't even need coffee.
Kenneth becomes like this internet sensation, like jolting. He's got the little headpiece microphone. Do you jolt? Can you imagine him?
Yes, that'd be hysterical.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that'd be the best.
We should do that now. It's gonna be like a TikTok or something.
But it'd only be like if he's like wearing like a unitard, like
yes,
like these spandex,
the shorts,
yeah,
bright shorts with a unitard over it, like 80s socks.
That's what I imagine.
With his big old beard.
Yes.
Once that alarm goes off, it's where the work kicks in.
Let's get to jolting.
Jolt.
Oh man.
So he also, if you like, have you ever woken him up from a nap or seen him wake up from a nap? It is the most terrifying because he does jolt, but it's like not by his own choosing. So it's like he'd be laying there and I'd be like, Kenneth, it's time to wake up. And he'd, and his eyes are bloodshot and he's like looking around like, what's going on? It's like I've just woken him up for the apocalypse or something every time.
Like he was dead and then you bit him and he became a vampire or something.
Yes. It's terrifying.
Brian will just open his eyes, but like he also can't see much without his glasses, so it's
blinking.
His eyes are like, but it's kind of cross-eyed a little. You can't really see.
Oh man.
Well, I woke up Hazel the other day. I went in her room and I kissed her and she like tiny did it. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're like a little tiny Kenneth. But it's always the breathe in, and the eyes are bloodshot, looking around for danger. Yeah. I'm like, well, he's got the fight or flight thing down.
I wish my kids would open their eyes. I have to like, let's go. Yeah. Tucker, I really have to be nice to. And Braylon, I'm like, let's go, get up.
He gets cranky?
Oh, he is like his daddy in the morning. Which Ryan's not like cranky in the morning. He just doesn't really need to talk to anybody. There's nothing he needs to say. He doesn't need to. Yeah. And I don't really need to either, but I can.
Yeah.
Like I'll talk to people.
I wish.
But
I'm no good like before 11 a.m. I'll talk if I have to and deal with my children, but for the most part I'm like, just shut up and leave me alone. Let me have coffee for hours alone.
Yeah. I was pretty cranky as a kid growing up. Waking up.
Yeah, you didn't like waking up with those alarms either.
Bree used to, when I lived with Bree, she'd say, she could, and we lived in a house that had hardwood floor. She's like, oh, there's Stacy's dragon stomps again. Like I'd wake up and be like, and one morning, I went and got in the shower.
Bye, friends.
Y'all are done already?
Bye.
Yeah,
That was quick.
I just wanted to interrupt real quick and let you know that men are generally more fun than women.
Okay.
So like, think if this was Kenneth and Arlen and Ryder sitting here talking, it would be perfectly acceptable for me to stand over there without you knowing and moon you and then just leave.
That's true.
But I can't do that with you
guys.
That's unacceptable.
Might be different.
You secretly respect us.
You could, but I would edit it out.
Is that what that is? Okay. I just wanted to say that.
Well, thank you.
Thank
for
you,
your
Preston.
input, Preston. Love y'all. Bye. Oh my gosh. He's not wrong though.
Yeah. Dudes doing a podcast, they would totally do that.
Not lying.
I got mooned in a photo session once.
Did you?
Yeah, it was like downtown Fort Worth, and we were back behind those old loading docks, like by the post office.
Yeah.
And so I'd always take my sessions in the back there because that little area is all like, sometimes there's tall grass and it's just a cool spot. Well, we were kind of in the foreground and the building was here, and there was a homeless man that would be there sometimes. You know, you just kind of ignore it and you're not going to get him in the picture. Well, he was in this one, and so they're facing me, and he was like, and I'm like, only I could see it. I'm pretty sure I got a picture with him in the back.
Yikes. Yeah.
But I was like, guys, that homeless man just mooned me. And they were like, no way. That was funny, actually.
Oh, man. That's
You
rough.
should find it and like frame it and put it above your toilet or something in your house.
I know which couple it was. Yeah.
Get my bathroom art.
Your bathroom art.
We're so glad you came.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It's nice
good
to
see
be here.
you
I know. It's so good to see y'all.
after all these years.
Well, I think y'all worked it out that y'all haven't seen each other
Since your wedding.
I think it's been since your wedding. Yeah.
almost 10 years ago.
Yeah. I think, too, like, I get so... Like, I'm so into my own family. And I think everybody does that. But I told Ryan, I was like, you're my only friend.
Oh.
Like, you're my only friend. I mean, I have, y'all live a little bit further. Like, me and Stacey are still friends and talk often.
Yeah.
And then I have another...
I love you.
I have another friend who I'm friends with that I became friends with at work. But she's moved off, too. And so we still talk, like, we'll Marco each other. But, like, I'm like, am I too old to make friends?
No.
Possibly.
To, like, make new friends in your...
To make new close friends, like you and I, like...
I don't think so. I saw a TikTok the other day that was talking about, you have your best friends, and they're like, but has anybody met their best friend in their, like, mid-30s or 40s? And apparently a ton of people had. They were all like, I met my closest friend at 38,
I think, and it's maybe not that I can't, but it's like,
it's putting
do
yourself
I want to?
out, and
Well, and you're also in a position too, like we are too, is that you have younger kids. I mean, they are getting older, but it is really your life right now.
Yeah.
And that's why we did this, or why we started this is because, like, even us living a little bit closer than you and I, like, we still weren't getting to.
I mean, we would text each other. We're only 30 minutes from each other, and we'd be like, why do you have to live so far?
Yeah.
And it's not far. It's just that we were so busy.
Yes.
And so this has just like kept us hanging out. But not only that, like now we get our guests are our friends and people that we need to get together with. So kind of works out perfect.
For sure. It's definitely, I think that when I listened to one of the first ones, it's about being intentional. And I definitely need to be more intentional. Oh my gosh. Intentional. About meeting with people that are my friends. But I think, like you're saying, like, I'm not that nobody's busy, everybody's busy, but like with Ryan's schedule and like my teaching schedule and then the kids, it's just like, by the time I get home, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stay here.
Yeah.
And then the weekends are for going to the grocery store and being with my family still.
Yeah.
So it's so hard to like pull yourself away from that, from the routine.
Mm-hmm. I feel like if I had something to do every day, like work, I would be more like that. But since we homeschool, we do have the freedom to see each other. Because it's, the world's not going to implode if we miss a day of school.
Yeah.
Just catch up whenever. But if I had a full-time job and was mothering, I applaud mothers who do that, because I feel like by the time I got done with like work stress and then got home and dealt with home stress too, I'd be like, everybody shut up and leave me alone. Like, I'd be terrible.
Yeah.
So being in it all day is fine. It would be the both.
The switch. Yeah. I think it used to be worse when the kids were younger, or when Braylon was younger, really. Yeah. I've been with kids all day and I don't want to come home, and like, I don't want to talk to her that way too, or have to have issues or whatever. But now I'm like, whatever.
It does get easier as they get older.
Yes.
It's those first few years when you're in the trenches that feel like they're never going to end. And then one day you look back and you miss them so bad.
Yeah.
It's so cliche, but everybody was right.
Yes.
Everybody that said, you'll miss these days.
Yeah.
Even like
some of them.
My youngest is 6. Like, she's not super old, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I miss them being tiny little squishy fat babies.
I know. And they, like, I remember, I think it was last year, Tucker's pre-K, they took a picture at the beginning of the year, and then they took a picture at the end, and they put them on the same thing, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at his face change and how it changed so much. And it's like, he's not a baby anymore. I mean, he's 6, just like Hazel is, but Evelyn, sorry.
No, it's all good.
And I was like, there's whatever, one of those kids.
That's what I say. I'm like, whoever your name is.
The youngest one. But they changed so, it was just a year, they changed so drastically, and it was just a school year, so, yeah.
I did the same thing with Evelyn the other day. I came across her little pre-K picture when she was in a school, And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like, she looks like a little teenager compared to her pre-K picture. I'm like, she's in kindergarten. It's not that long ago, but man, it goes by fast.
I know.
I was putting Bennett to bed the other night, and I was so ready to be in my bed, but he was like hyped. But he was laying there, and he was talking. I'm like, I'm going to miss laying here with him and snuggling him.
Yeah.
You know, and him being like, can I have some water? We have to go get some water. And
Yes.
like,
That's like the age-old question.
Mom, but Mom, I have a question. You know, like those little things like, okay, now stop talking and I'll go to sleep. You know, like those are precious times. And we have to learn sometimes we have to stop and enjoy them.
Yeah.
Because they won't be there forever. Even putting Nora to bed is quicker now. You know, it's not like, I mean, sometimes it's a little slower. Like she'll talk to me and stuff, but it's, you know, she can actually put herself to sleep pretty easily.
Yeah, Tucker will come and just rant, Mom, I need a hug.
Aww.
And I'm like, okay. Like, you know, try to, because I don't think I remember all those things. I don't know that Braylon ever really did that, but I don't remember all the things that she did. And I'm like, okay, I need to be more intentional about.
It's hard. Like, I go back so much in my head about how I mothered Wyatt. And, like, he got the worst version of me as a mother because I was learning and thought, you know, some things were better than I do now. Like I see things differently. So he really got like the worst version of me. And he is like, I don't want to, this is going to sound worse than I mean it, but he's like my sweetest kid. Like he's just very tenderhearted and he's very sweet and loving. And I'm like, why was I so like, no, go to sleep. You know, like I just wish I would have held him more. But he's very gracious because now he's almost 12 and he'll come up and just hug me, just to hug me. And I held him one day and I said, hey, don't ever quit doing this. I said, because my heart needs it.
Yeah.
I said, no matter how old you get. And he was like, okay. And so he's very affectionate and I love that.
I think that's a boy thing too,
I think
to
so,
be
too.
real.
They're
Like I
just
think
like a mama's boy kind of
Braylon
thing.
didn't come up to me. I mean, she would give me hugs, but he'll just come up like random.
Yeah.
Mom, I need a hug. He'll be back in the playroom playing or watching TV, and then he'll just come in and just give me a hug and then go back.
Aw.
It's just like so different.
Yeah.
And he too is very much like, he would be like just losing it and having like a fit and a tantrum. And I kind of realized one day, I just asked him, I was like, and this is probably when he was like 3 or 4, 3 maybe. And I was like, do you need a hug? And he was like, so he gave me a hug and like that was it. And it was done. And so really, and I've told his teachers this too, like if he's like throwing a fit, which he doesn't do that at school because, you know, they don't act the same way outside of your home.
Yeah.
But I was like, if he's ever like throwing a fit or something, I was like, just ask him if he needs a hug because like that's, he'll give you a hug and he'll just be done. It's like no big deal.
Something in their nervous system needs a little help.
Yes.
Well, and I think for me, like I forget that they don't, like when they're born, they don't even like body temperature regulate themselves. Like they have to be close to you. And I think emotionally they don't regulate for a long time.
Oh,
yeah.
Like I look back on myself when I was 16, 17, and the things I thought and felt were so far off reality.
Oh, yeah.
Like we don't even know how to
Our
regulate
brains are
when
not
we're
done.
young adults. So I'm like, I need to quit
Yeah.
putting so much pressure on them to like behave or think a certain way because they're still developing.
Yeah.
And they're far from being fully developed.
Well, especially when we act a certain way and we're basically doing the exact same thing that they just did.
Yeah.
But it's not acceptable for them.
Yeah.
But we can,
just expect
and
them
we're like,
to-
okay, sorry.
Yeah.
But then they get, you know, so.
I'm dealing with that with Leona right now. She says and does things that sound so awful, and I know she's gotten them from me, and I'm like, okay, but why does it sound so awful coming from your tiny sweet mouth? And then I'm like, oh, well, because I'm the devil apparently. Like, I gotta reel it in.
They definitely mirror what they are around
Yes.
and what they say.
Yeah. And she, like, I know Braylon probably gets stuff from me because she'll like to be a mother hen and like do that for Tucker. And I've had to tell her, like, I'm the mom, like, let me do that. That's my job.
Yeah.
But then I think the way that she is saying things is probably the way that I say things too,
Yeah.
like you're saying. And it's so like, oh man.
Well, and two, like even if I'm not trying to sound, like even if I'm trying to speak normally, like whatever Leona's saying that makes me think of myself, it sounds so mean. And I'm like, why are you being so mean? Like, why can't you just say it regular? And then I'm like, do they feel though like how I feel when Kenneth says something to me? And I'm like, why are you talking to me like that? And he's not actually meaning to. He's just speaking how he speaks, but I'm taking it like he's super mean, and they're probably taking what I say super mean. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to turn into one of those mothers that's like, children, it's time for school. I've told you 17 times to brush your teeth. Please do it now.
I know.
Do it now. Nora will be like, you sounded kind of
Sure,
mean.
come on. What are you doing? Hey, I told Christy a while back she needs to be on the cast. Yeah, I'm gonna have her on one day. Bye.
Goodness. Well,
like,
Weatherford's the place to
it
be.
is. If you are looking for friends, come on down to Weatherford, Texas.
Yeah. On the square.
Oh my gosh, this is funny.
We just should have had a meetup.
I almost thought that was a random guy. It took
meet
my
and
brain
greet.
a minute. We should
The get together podcast meet and greet.
Listen, viewers, share us around all socials because we're trying to get to the point on the old tickety talk to where we can go live.
Oh.
Because if we went live, we could do.
That'd be so fun.
The possibilities could be endless. Not really, but it's just being dramatic.
Because what do you have to have? 1,000 followers?
Something
Yeah,
like that.
you have to have
500 or
1,000.
1,000. If we have like 80, I'm like, we're just a hop, skip, and a jump from there. We're gonna make it.
Just a hop, skip, and a
Just a hop,
jump.
skip, and a jump.
No big deal. Oh, man. That's funny.
Sure. Thank you again for coming. It has been
Thank you.
show fun, as Hazel used to say. Show fun.
So fun.
It was good to see you after this
I know.
long.
It's so good to see
Thanks.
y'all.
And now we gotta do it again.
I know.
Because I mean, this is a
Maybe we can
perfect
drive to
meeting
you.
point.
Yes, I'd love for y'all. Bring your kids. I live by the track.
Just let them
We
play.
get running.
We run while
Go
we're.
run. on
We're
the
in
track.
lawn chairs in the middle, like run one more lap.
Yeah.
Like eating snacks,
Yeah.
making our kids run.
Yeah. It could be your PE time.
Hey, I like that.
Yeah.
Homeschool extravaganza. We could do field day.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But,
We love you very much. I love you
y'all.
very much.
I love y'all.
and thank you again.
No problem.
And we will see you all at the next get together.